is Esther Nwachukwu, and these are the top stories. Tinubu asks court to release certificate to Atiku, not transcript gender others. Lagos Tribunal dismisses Roads 5-0, a Labour Party from Jando's petition against Sanwo-Olu's victory. Supreme Court reveals condition of election petition documents after fire incident. Ondo Deputy Governor seeks court order to stop impeachment proceedings. And Governor Lawal accuses President Tinubu's government of holding secret meetings with Zamfara bandits without knowledge of state government. Details now. The world news begins with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu asking a federal judge in the United States to direct Chicago State University to give only his university certificate to former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. Now, President Tinubu, through his lawyers today, asked Judge Nancy Maldonado to block all other details, especially the gender and admission records, amongst others, of the person who owns the certificate from being disclosed. Now, VOP News understands that the identity of who was admitted into Chicago State University in the 1970s has been controversial after CSU transcripts emerged that indicated the school admitted a female Bola Tinubu from Southwest College, Chicago, in 1977. Recall that Tinubu, through his lawyers, had asked Ms. Maldonado to delay the order of Judge Jeffrey Gilbert, a magistrate that ordered the university to release his academic records to Atiku. Now, Tinubu asked the judge to save him from suffering severe and irreparable damage by placing an emergency hold on a recent order for his university records to be released. Whereas Mr. Tinubu's lawyers, led by Victor Henderson and Christopher Carmichael, insisted that the documents Mr. Abubakar sought wouldn't be admissible at the Supreme Court. They nonetheless appeared to anticipate the potential for an unfavorable ruling and consequently gave the judge an alternative direction of giving only an order for the school to certify strictly the certificate the president intended to run for election. Mr. Gilbert's ruling last week required CSU administrators to confirm under oath whether or not the certificate of Mr. Tinubu tendered in Nigeria was genuine. Additionally, the officials were mandated to show a certificate issued to a CSU graduate in 1979 with the person's identification redacted, and to also turn over communications relating to a letter the school issued to Mr. Tinubu in 2022. Now, Mr. Tinubu feared that allowing the deposition of CSU officials to go forward could inflict severe, irreparable damage to his life, saying Mr. Abubakar was only on a fishing expedition to fuel online conspiracy theories. In today's filing, a man who identified himself as Olajide Adeniji submitted an affidavit saying he attended the school with Mr. Tinubu from 1977 to 1979. Meanwhile, the Lagos State Governorship Election Tribunal has removed the Labour Party and its candidate Gbadebo Roads 5-0 from PDP's Olajide Jando Adediran's petition challenging Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu's victory. The tribunal, led by its Justice Arum Ashom, decided to first deliver judgment in the case of Mr. Adediran and his party PDP before giving that of Mr. Roads 5-0 before Justice Michael Abdullahi read the judgment. At the ongoing hearing, Justice Abdullahi first dwelt on the preliminary objection to determine whether the third respondent, the Deputy Governor of Lagos, Obafemi Hamzat, is a separate and distinct candidate from the second respondent, Mr. Sanwo-Olu. The objection was also for the tribunal to determine whether the Deputy Governor could be listed as a respondent in the petition. However, stating that similar petitions had been decided severally, the tribunal held that a deputy governor and governor are not separate candidates and are not required to pay a separate security deposit. On the second objection, which was seeking the tribunal to determine whether a person who lost an election could be joined as a respondent in an election petition, the tribunal, also citing similar cases, agreed that a petition is contemplated to be filed between the winner and the loser of an election and not between two persons who lost. The preliminary objection was therefore upheld, and the tribunal subsequently struck out the name of the fifth respondent, Mr. Roads 5-0, from Jando's petition and removed all exhibits he tendered as evidence from the PDP candidate's petition. The court held that Mr. Rhodes, however, would be a meddlesome interloper if he challenged any part of the judgment of John Doe's petition. Furthermore, the tribunal removed and struck out the Labour Party from the petition for being improperly joined after holding that the sixth respondent, the Labour Party, should not have been made a respondent in John Doe and the PDP's petition, as it also expunged all the party's evidence and exhibits from the tribunal's records. The tribunal disagreed with the objection by the APC and its candidate that the misjoinder of the Labour Party and its candidate was a ground for striking out the petition. It held that the fifth and sixth respondent ought not to have been made respondents to the petition, cannot rob the tribunal of the jurisdiction to hear the parties. The question of misjoinder cannot lead to a striking out of the petition, as the proper order to make is to strike out the names of the parties. Already, the name of the fifth respondent has been struck out, and the sixth respondent, who has been found to be improperly joined, is also ordered to be struck out. Now, the Supreme Court of Nigeria has confirmed that a fire that broke out on Monday morning was caused by an electrical fault in one of the chambers of the court. VOP News gathered that the fire was quickly extinguished by staff using fire extinguishers on hand, and there were no casualties. Festus Akonde, the Supreme Court spokesperson, said that the fire started around 7:30 a.m. this morning and was brought under control within minutes. He added that only a few bricks and stationery were damaged, and that documents pertaining to cases in the court, including the presidential election petition appeal, remains intact. The fire, he said, will not disrupt the operations of the Apex Court. The Supreme Court is the highest court in Nigeria and has the final say on all legal matters. It will give judgment on the petitions by the candidates of the People's Democratic Party and the Labour Party against the election of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. In the meantime, the Deputy Governor of Ondo State, Mr. Lucky Ayedatiwa, has filed a lawsuit in the Ondo State High Court seeking to stop the State House of Assembly from proceeding with the impeachment proceedings against him. In the suit filed today, September 25, 2023, the Deputy Governor is seeking a declaration that the House of Assembly is not competent to proceed with his impeachment in breach of his constitutional and fundamental rights to fair hearing, and that the sacking of his media aides and subjecting him to the Ministry of Information headed by a commissioner amounts to a breach of his rights and privileges as a deputy governor. He is also seeking a declaration that his office, tenure, status, rights and privileges are protected, guaranteed and secure by the Constitution, and the declaration that in the determination of his civil rights and obligations as a deputy governor of Ondo State by the House of Assembly, he is entitled to a fair hearing, and that given the utterances and conduct of the House of Assembly so far, there is likelihood of bias against him in the impeachment process. According to the Deputy Governor, in conducting media trials against him without serving him with any notice of gross misconduct, the House Assembly has constituted itself into accuser, investigator, prosecutor and judge. The Deputy Governor has therefore sought orders of injunction to stop the House of Assembly from initiating, continuing or proceeding with the process of his removal from office as the Deputy Governor of Ondo State. He also seeks an order to stop the Chief Judge of Ondo State from accepting or acting upon any request from the House of Assembly of Ondo State to set up any panel to investigate any acts of gross misconduct against the Deputy Governor. In the affidavit supporting the originating summons, the Deputy Governor stated that the House of Assembly embarked upon a media trial of him to purely scandalize him and incite public opinion against him, when indeed no notice of acts of alleged gross misconduct was served on him. He also accused the House of Assembly of persecuting him without lawful basis in conspiracy with certain persons who are gladiators in political circles. Also, the governor of Zamfara State recently disclosed that, that is Governor Dauda Lawal, he is calling for an urgent and comprehensive investigation by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government into the secretive negotiations held with bandits in Zamfara State. A statement recently issued by the state government noted that reports indicated that a delegation allegedly sent by some agencies of the government have been holding talks with bandit groups in Zamfara without without the knowledge of the state government. However, today, via a statement issued through his senior special assistant on media and publicity, Suleiman Baba Idris, he lamented the action of some federal government agencies engaged in negotiations with bandits without the knowledge of the state government and other security agencies. The statement added that Governor Lawal also called on the federal government to clarify the action of its agencies, saying it is clearly at variance with the state government's adoption of a kinetic strategy in the fight against banditry. Now, to talk about some prominent issues in the world news at 6, I have via the telephone a legal practitioner, a social affairs commentator, as well as a political enthusiast, Barrister Eze Eluche. Barrister Eze Eluche, good evening and welcome to the world news at 6 right here on VOP 90.3 FM.
Thank you very much for having me in your studios.
All right. Barrister Eze Eluche, we do know that as of last week, the CSU certificate of the president was trending. Now, the reason why that trended was because of his response, that is his appeal to stay the order which Judge Jeffrey Gilbert granted that Atiku Abubakar should have records of Tinubu's CSU certificate and other academic records within the school. Now, the plea was written to Judge Nancy Maldonado, who gave the stay. However, today there was a hearing, and on that hearing, apparently the president only approved that it is only his certificate that can be released to the former vice president Atiku Abubakar, and that was made through his lawyers. Today. He is asking the judge, however, to make sure that no release of his academic record should be given to Atiku Abubakar. However, only his certificate. Only the certificate of the school can be given to him. Also, there is a man named who identified as Olajide Adeniji, who submitted an affidavit saying he attended the school with the president from 1977 to 1979. Barrister Eze, please, what's your take on this recent development?
Well, when I first heard of this issue of Mr. Bola Tinubu asking the court to retain other documents or other details and only release his certificate, I initially thought it was a joke, because it will mean that this Mr. Bola Tinubu is aware of the offenses he has committed and is trying to hide it from Nigerians. I took the extra step to see the real document, the original document that were filed in court in Chicago, and I am shocked, I am stunned, I am flabbergasted that somebody who is occupying the office of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria can go to this extent to try to cover crimes that were committed. It's unfortunate. When I went through the documents that were filed, these lawyers were lying with reckless abandon before the district court. They have 2 points of argument for why they should not be, the certificate only should be released to Mr. Atiku Abubakar. The first line of argument is that the issue of the document, the only issue is the issue of the certificate only. But that is a bloody lie, because apart from the certificate, the issue of the gender of the person that was admitted into this Chicago State University is also an issue. The issue of the nationality, whether it was an American citizen or a Nigerian citizen, is also an issue. And these extra issues can only be resolved when further details beyond the certificate, because the certificate is only there the name of the person. And there is a contention that there is a Bola Tinubu who is female, and that this man who is now saying is Bola Tinubu adopted this female's name after his Chicago certificate became an issue. So the arguments the Bola Tinubu lawyers are bringing before the American court are preposterous. The second line of arguments they have is that it will be unduly intrusive of his privacy and confidentiality of educational records if the details of his results are released. But that is also a blatant falsehood. The reason being that on several campaign fronts, Mr. Bola Tinubu has boldly told Nigerians, and I will quote one instance where he, in a media briefing, Bola Tinubu stated, I was one of those most recruited graduates of my university. Multiple honors, first-class degree, and I have the reference point. End of quote. This was what Mr. Bola Tinubu, who is now Nigeria's president, told the public. So the details of this is first-class degree, of his being a honor student, of his being the most recruited graduate, is in full discussion, and the court has to release it. The man is going this extent to hide, to cover the details of his academic exploits, tells us only one fact, and that is that it has been lies, lies, and lies. I think Nigerians owe Atiku a world of gratitude for the extra effort he's doing. Because ordinarily, in the past times, people forgot about going this far. But because of the exploits of Mr. Tinubu, the exploits of Atiku and his lawyers, we have now realized the level of fraud, the criminality that is imbued in this character, who is now ruling over Nigeria. How can a man go about in America disgracing Nigeria? And we're all keeping quiet. And he comes and has the guts to talk to Nigerians about morals. Oh God.
Barrister Eze,
how did we fall this low in Nigeria?
Well, Barrister Eze, I recall when I called you, you told me that it is not true. That, I mean, what is the verification indeed that this recent information or update on the CSU certificate is true? And I told you that I had made verifications. There was a hearing today, and this is the update. Now, you said that the world should thank Atiku Abubakar. We do know that Atiku Abubakar also has discrepancies. We do know that if we need to check his own records as in-depthly as we are with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's own, you will also find some anomalies or some discrepancies. However, probably because President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, all eyes basically will be on him. And the question we asked when the initial plea for a stay to be on his certificate to being released to Atiku Abubakar, everyone wondered what kind of harm is he expecting would happen to him. The question now is, what is the difference between releasing his certificate and the record? I mean, if you do not want anyone to have any access to the record that you say you have, the certificate is just to verify that he indeed attended the institution, isn't it? So what is the fear? What is the fear about the other records, these other academic records at the CSU?
The difference is simple. The difference is that a certificate will have Bola Tinubu on it.
Okay.
And Bola Tinubu can be male, can be female, can be American, can be Japanese, can be Niger, can be Guinean.
So it could be any other person that doesn't have a picture in it.
It is no, it will not. No degree has photographs on it.
Of course.
It will most degrees. I mean, have like mine. I use myself as an example. I am a student of Georgetown. I was a student of Georgetown University in Washington D.C. My certificate only bears my name.
Okay.
And does not have my the photograph or whatsoever. So presumably, what this Mr. Tinubu, Bola Tinubu is trying to do is for the school to release a certificate that bears the name Bola Tinubu, and then that will be that. But it is the extra details that will now tell us whether this Bola Tinubu is a male or female, whether it's a Nigerian citizen or an American citizen. That is why we need to have all those documents. But the reality is this: as far as I'm concerned, and as far as most Nigerians are concerned, we don't even need to go further. That this man is fighting this hard to prevent Nigerians from seeing the truth, has told us the truth, the absolute truth. That indeed, this is not a man who we thought he was. This is not a man who says he's a first-class honors degree student and the most recruited. That this is not the man who claims all the claiming. We now have to ask ourselves, what has this man, how many lies has this Mr. Bola Tinubu been telling Nigerians? Yes, when you called me earlier,
yes,
I said I needed more details, more proof.
Yes.
I have friends in Chicago, and before me in my office now, I am looking at the documents that we have filed in court, including the affidavit by the so-called Mr. Olajide,
yes, of course.
Yes, that was dated 23rd of September 2023.
Yes,
I have these documents before me now.
I also have the document.
When you look at the certificate, it only tells you, I mean, it's somebody's issue for a fee. Because this kind of issues, the court has asked the university to come and depose to this affidavit.
Yes.
Not an inconsequential character who claims he's a colleague or his classmate of Mr. Bola Tinubu. Guess what?
What?
For $1 million, for $2 million, any Nigerian will be willing to spend 1 or 2 or 5 years in prison to just swear to an oath that I'm your classmate or whatever. because this is the issue that's taken now. So we can totally discountenance this Mr. so-called Olajide's affidavit.
So the question is, where was Mr. Olajide all this while to show us this, to prove while our questions were being asked, where was he? Because when this particular information came up, we saw this affidavit. We also saw his picture in the yearbook, in the 1979 yearbook, which indicated that he indeed attended that institution, which he claimed that, basically he attended along with the president. So all this while, though, why did he not indicate that he attended this school? Was he waiting for this court hearing before he would eventually express that he indeed attended the institution along with the president?
My dear, that he even attended the school is not the issue. The fact is the school authorities as an institution should have sworn to the affidavit as the court had asked them to do.
You recall that at the time when
now, can you listen to this?
Okay.
If this man's picture appeared in whatever yearbook, there are people who have been graduated for 30 years who are unemployed. So who says that for a fee, he's not willing to swear to whatever oath he wants to swear to? That somebody says we were classmates does not mean the man is who he says he is. For goodness sake, Nigerians should be worried. The person who is presiding over our affairs, who is appointing the central bank director governor, who is appointing ministers, who is in charge of the defense, who is in charge of everything about Nigeria, has very opaque and doubtful records. Even the academic record is fighting tooth and nail to protect, to prevent the public from failing. How long will this kind of rubbish continue in this country? We are all living witnesses.
Okay.
We are living witnesses to when Muhammadu Buhari hired about 30 senior advocates of Nigeria to defend his lack of a certificate, a primary school certificate. And now we are now faced with this kind of debacle, where the man who says he's the president is going to all extents to try to deceive Nigerians. We have to be very annoyed. If Nigerians are not annoyed over this, I don't know what else can be annoying to us. For goodness sake, Mr. Bola Tinubu, you are the president now. Allow your records to be released. Let us know who we are. You may apologize to Nigerians if you wrong or if you lie in the past, but do not call Nigerians fools. We are not fools.
Okay.
We are seeing through this charade, for goodness sake.
Barrister, what I was trying to ask while you continued explaining was that the first time when the sitting occurred, in the U.S. District Court, when the president was represented, or rather to defend himself via a conference call, I recall Judge Jeffrey at the time asked that the school swears under oath. And the legal team of the president said that swearing under oath by the school was unnecessary, so long as the school already admitted that he attended that institution, basically. And so you reiterating the instance of what Judge Jeffrey said, that the school should swear under oath, the legal team of the president had told the school that there was no need for them to swear under oath, so long as they admit that he indeed attended that institution. Hello, Barrister Ez, are you there?
Yes, I'm certainly here.
Okay, so basically, when you talked about the oath, if the legal team of the president doesn't want the school to swear under oath, would they be compelled to swear under oath? If the legal team of the president said there was no need for that?
No, I have told you the difference. Whatever the school said in writing or whatever before, it's true. We can't ask you to swear to an oath in a matter. Because you know that any mistake, any lie in such a book.
But Barrister Ezra, you seem to have switched positions because you're breaking now.
No, but are you hearing me very well?
Okay, now, yes, I can hear you well now. Go ahead. Hello? Hello?
You swear to an oath.
Okay.
No, somebody's playing with the phone now.
Okay.
Because I'm very, very clear I'm in the same position.
Now I can hear you now. Go ahead.
When the university orders the school to swear to an oath to depose to the facts of Mr. Tinubu's studentship, the school is now aware, even the Bola Tinubu team is aware that any lies in such an oath, in such an affidavit, will lead to maybe imprisonment for some school authorities. So that is why they are fighting to their nail not to allow the school to depose to that oath. Rather, they are ready to bring out some kind of spurious human being.
Hello?
Yes, are you with me?
Yes, continue, please.
Whether they are ready to bring up some kind of spurious human being to come and claim he's a classmate. That classmate should keep his classmate to himself. The school should come and release this information. Let Nigerians be aware of the kind of person we have as our president. I don't know what this man is afraid of, but for goodness sake, there should be an end to this rigmarole and to this charade. Enough is enough. And when I say Nigerians should thank Mr. Atiku, I'm not trying to say that Atiku Abubakar is a saint. Far from me. But what I'm trying to establish is that it is his dexterity, his insistence that has revealed these sordid details of the kind of character who is presiding over us. And this is not the first time Mr. Atiku Abubakar is doing this. If you recollect, when he was vice president of Olusegun Obasanjo, he also used the instrumentality of the court systems to ensure a lot of constitutional rights were upheld. So that is why I say we should appreciate what he's doing, but we already know the facts from all the kind of defenses that the Bola Tinubu team is trying to bring up in this matter, that the truth is that this man is not who he says he is, and he's trying to shy away from that fact. Quite unfortunate for Nigeria.
Okay, so let's eventually, I do know that there will be more updates on this if eventually the court would allow what he says he wants to be. He's only saying that the school should only release his certificate to Atiku Abubakar. We will definitely hear what the judge has to say concerning his permission eventually. Barrister Ezeluche, thank you so much for giving your time.
On a final shot, I'm sure Nigerians should not bother about listening to any further things. The fact is already known. This man is not who he says he is, and the court can decide whatever else, but we already know what the facts are.
Thank you, Barrister Ezeluche. Thank you so much. Now, to wrap up the world news at 6, here again are the top stories. You heard that President Tinubu asked court to release certificate to Atiku and not transcript gender others. Lagos State Tribunal dismisses Rhodes Vival Labour Party from Jando's petition against Samuel's victory. You also heard that the Supreme Court has reviewed condition of election petition documents after fire incident. And Ondo Deputy Governor seeks court order to stop impeachment proceedings. That is a wrap on the world news at 6 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. My name is Esther Nwachukwu. Good evening. Thank you for staying with us. Up next is the Evening Rush with Precious.